Welcome to the Pay Love Forward and Resilient Stories podcast. My name is Dr. Matthew Leavenworth, founder and director of Pay Love Forward. This series shares the stories of quiet builders of compassion, those who choose to live and lead with courageous authenticity. At Pay Love Forward, our mission is to build compassionate communities for the at-risk and underserved through mentorship. This podcast is one way we live out that mission. In this episode, I had the honor of sitting down with someone who shaped my world long before I ever dreamed of shaping one myself. My mother, Leslie Leavenworth. She's an award-winning artist whose work radiates both technical mastery and emotional truth. But more than that, she's a woman whose life embodies the same themes that echo through her art: family, faith, and joy. Our conversation traces the arc of her creative journey, from the docks of the James River, painting watercolors beside her father, to a long season of quiet sacrifice while raising her family, and finally to her return to painting as a vocation in her later years. We talk about where art lived when she wasn't painting, how faith and creativity intertwine, and what it means to see one's own children as living masterpieces. This episode felt different, more personal, more tender, because it wasn't just a story of an artist, but a conversation between a son and his mother about the beauty that endures. The world needs better stories, and Pay Love Forward intends to tell them. And recording. Yeah, we're live. All right. Well, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, Mom. So we kind of started this conversation. We talked about faith, family, and then art as sort of our central theme. And you said something a moment ago to me that was really interesting, that there's a hierarchy there, there's an order, and when they're aligned right, then that's where you operate from. But I was wondering if you could just say a little bit more about that hierarchy.
Sure. I think for a while I tried to put art first. I thought if I could really achieve a level of painting, then everything would fall into place and I would feel valued and have accomplished something. And I realized that's out of order. And as I put my faith first and that core identity in God, everything flows out of that. It's a place of abundance. So it's been a journey to get things in the right order. And family has always been important to me, but even that needs to be under that umbrella of faith.
Mm-hmm. So for you, it's faith is kind of that centralizing
core.
Yeah, and then underneath that is family, and then somehow art flows out of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm kind of interested in that, and then I want you to read your poem in just a moment. But I've never really, I don't know, when I think about you, I've never seen those out of alignment for me. But for you, it's you kind of described, and I'm sure it's an internal battle. Like you're thinking about these things,
Yes.
you're processing from these places. But for you, you recognized at one point that there was a disorder in how they're ranked. And
Yes.
So what was that like to recognize that?
You can recognize it, but still it's hard to change it. Mm-hmm. So that set me on a journey, sometimes involuntarily, to have some things that I thought would make me happy either happen or not happen, and then journey through to a place where I could put it in the right order. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't a snap, it's done. It's just a recognition like, wow, I've made a God out of this thing that won't satisfy. No matter, you might get an award, might get best in show, and the next day think, I got to start all over again, climbing this mountain to get somewhere.
Yeah, I guess that's the question that I'm the most curious about, is what happens when it's out of alignment? What happens when art becomes, a God?
There's never that internal satisfaction and contentment. It's always out of reach.
So it just becomes something that you're chasing. Chasing. And so what does it feel like when they are in alignment?
I feel I'm coming from a place of contentment and joy. And I don't got to. It's delight versus, I would say, slavery. You got to show up to the taskmaster. I used to feel like I had a little critic sitting on my shoulder telling me that's not enough, that's not good enough, what's wrong with you, you don't have it. It was one time I remember in my studio just saying, "Shut up." But that voice has been silenced. That's that critic, that voice of resistance that wants to keep me from who I really am.
So it's when it's ordered correctly, there's like almost an abundance that it flows from. And
yes, there's an inner place of inner peace. It's expansive. It's generous. It's enough. It's satisfying. It's like a well within.
That's beautiful. Well, so then let's read the poem.
Sure. This came out of, I had a one-to-one coach who asked me, write down why you paint. I sat down and this just came, I just didn't overthink it. I just wrote this down and it has resonated with me ever since. So I think it was my soul. And I'm not a poet, but this came out. Why I paint. I paint to breathe, to open wide my soul window for air and light and beauty to dance in. I paint to right my disordered world and shove back the dark chasm. I paint to be present and focused and attentive, to fight my resistance battle with terror, instilled by that empty canvas that says, I too am empty and have nothing worth saying. I paint to be alone with my wild companion feelings and thoughts. I paint to sing my silent song, to give agency to my reluctant being, and listen to the whispers of my depths. I paint to love. I love my beautiful brushes and color potential of those messy tubes of oils piled in a box. I love the risk, despite the thud of letdown when nothing seems to measure up to my ideals. I love it as an act of prayer. I love me when I paint. That was written in 2022.
2022. Well, what does that mean to you, that poem?
I think it encapsulates the wild thoughts I have and feelings that seem to overwhelm me at times. And I thought there was something wrong with me, that I didn't have a grip on that. I was told often, you're too sensitive, toughen up. To be somebody else, and I realize that hypersensitivity is my superpower. That I can feel and experience things some people don't have. And because of that, one avenue of expressing it and funneling it is with paint and a canvas. That I can get it out and to the world, and it's my song. It's my means of communication. Where at one time, I kept silent. I didn't know what to do with them, and they can kind of poison you if they don't have an avenue and a connection to get out in the world.
I just, in how you're describing this, hear this almost evolution of identity.
That's exactly where I am. It has been a journey home to who I really am, not a false identity that either was put on me or I embraced about myself. And boy, has it been a journey.
But but painting has been this central component of your life, but it's been along for the ride on this journey. But
that's a good way to put it.
But almost that it hasn't necessarily been about the painting. It's been about the self-discovery that's gone into that journey.
I thought it was about the painting. I thought that would give me an identity, but I already have the identity. Therefore, it's icing on the cake.
Yeah. Well, maybe you didn't always, though.
I didn't know my identity. I think I had one as a young girl. I lost it in some transitions that happened. I got really lost, and then it's been a journey home deeper and deeper until I feel like lately I'm so rooted in an understanding of that. I feel more unshakable in my faith. That makes sense?
Yeah, and it's just so interesting to describe that journey, that personal journey, and then art is along the way. Just it's like a snapshot into your development.
Yes.
As you go forward.
I heard artists say, they're artifacts of my journey. So it's interesting that I used to be so critical of my paintings and thought, why aren't they better? They don't measure up. And now I'm kinder to them. I thought, oh, I had something important I was saying there, and that's where I was on the journey. I used to think it was all about the destination. You have to arrive somewhere. I thought, no, it's the trip. I was so regretful that I didn't go into art instead of nursing, because I missed out. I haven't missed out on anything. I'm already where I'm supposed to be. I'm right smack in the middle of my journey.
What do you think it was that enabled you to come to that realization, to finally discover that, and not just as a rational or intellectual truth, but to actually live that
a heart truth?
Yeah.
I think it's been saying yes to some opportunities that were presented to me for growth. A couple of real important things were spiritual direction training. First, I said no when it was offered to me, and then through a series of events, I went back and said yes. And the last minute they had an opening, I jumped in. So that was a important part of the journey. Paul's, your dad's training and mentor coaching, it taught me not just to listen to others and listen, but to listen and coach myself. I've gotten so much better about asking myself and listening and writing down and trusting that my soul knows what it wants and what it needs to do. And then time and showing up to the practice of art despite some of my resistance. And I took this Art to Life training, which just, Nicholas Wilton is saying all the same things I'm saying, that we have to get our life and our energy up and our joy and pay attention to what lights us up and follow that path. So just a number of journeys that have taken me towards that security in who I am. And I also took Jamie Winship has a great course on it. It's called Identity Exchange. And the jig's up on knowing when I'm being lied to, what's my false identity. I lived in it so long it was familiar. So for many years I would slip back into it, slide back into it, sort of graze back into it and realize, wait a minute, I've lost my joy. I'm competing, I'm comparing. I feel there's not enough. That's not true. And then now I can recognize it. Doesn't mean I never go there, but I don't stay there very long, because I can recognize it and shift back to what is the truth. There is more than enough. I am enough. God is more than enough. I don't have to be perfect. I can be fallible. It's just built into our nature. That's how we show up. That's how we learn. So a journey. The whole thing's been a journey.
Well, the one thing that keeps coming to mind when I'm hearing you describe that journey is self-awareness, that becoming more and more able to identify. Yeah, it's almost like that default setting or something like that, or
yes.
Maybe that was a component of just how you treated yourself, how you thought about yourself, but almost a false identity that you had lived inside for so long.
Yes.
That was the other thought too that I kept having, is that, whether it's not having an identity and having to find one, or having the wrong identity, or having your identity masked and just discovering, your true identity, but those are somewhat different things.
Maybe it's a both and. I certainly had terrible self-talk. When I look back at it, I thought, boy, didn't treat myself well. And I can hear it in others too. And I thought, oh, it just hurts me when I hear especially young women talking about themselves in a certain way. Which
is, so often, right? You would never talk to somebody else
the
way that we're so capable of speaking to ourselves.
Yes. So I had to encounter an understanding of not the rules of God, performance rules, which I was under for a long time. I thought I had to clean up, get better for him to love me, and that he was always disappointed in me. To shift to, oh my goodness, I am utterly and completely loved, right now, just as I am. That is never going to change. And that shift, that mindset shift and heart shift is everything. If I'm coming from a place of abundance, I have plenty to share. I don't have to worry about myself. I felt like I was carrying around a carcass all the time, this old stuff, heavy.
So this is one of the questions I'm so endlessly intrigued by, because you can tell somebody those things, right?
Yes.
Somebody might be listening to this podcast and hear the deep resonating truth in what you're describing, that that I am worthy, but to actually internalize that is very difficult. And it's like there's two components of our personality, and
yes.
So we can cognitively know something, but not live it out, and not live it out in a way that's enough to silence that voice, that critical side of yourself. So I'm very, very curious as to what it was that finally enabled you to not just know, but to live out maybe your authentic self, or
There are a number of key moments that come to mind of stepping into a different reality and having a different experience. I think of one key moment. I adored my father. I kind of worshiped him, and teenage years were rough on our relationship, and I kept coming at him wanting to talk about all the things that were missing, and he just shut down on me. Well, I was at a church service, and I asked the pastor, how do I get close to my father? He said, fast and pray. And it didn't take long before I thought I heard from the Lord, treat him as though he's already who you want him to be. Honestly, it was instantaneous. I just began telling Dad how much I loved him, what a great dad he was. I kind of called into being something that didn't exist. And he responded with love, and our relationship just blossomed from then on out. So, key moments of...
You spoke that into his life, and he responded.
Yes. I think it was there untapped. I think he did love me, didn't know how to love me. And that love broke open and broke down walls. And our relationship, I got everything that I wanted. And I said to him at the end of his life, I said, Dad, all I ever wanted to be was close to you, and I got that. And we both just wept. He said, I wanted that too. And so, also this sense of you just can't be passive. You have to take up that mantle of who you are. You have to believe it. But that's been a process. I feel like I would do it for a time and then...
Yeah, because I wonder, right? So you spoke into your dad's life in this, almost in this way where it's like you believed...
I did.
What the relationship could become. But I also hear a component of that as far as self-talk and just how you related to yourself, like almost that you started speaking to yourself.
Exactly.
In that same
I thought,
way.
what if it's true? What if I really am already loved? I don't have to earn it. What if that were, and begin to own it and believe it, what a shift that makes. And in terms of art, I kept waiting for someone to tell me you're an artist. I thought, wait a minute, I have to choose that. I have to own that. And I just started to say I'm an artist. And I began to own that and live into it. Now, was I a good artist? I don't know. But it was a way of showing up to it, a belief about myself.
It's so interesting, too, because, and I'm sure you listened to it, the conversation I had with Alyssa Leininger, who is just a brilliant artist, but also kind of went through a journey and an evolution to become what she has become. And now it's sort of this undeniable fact, like, Alyssa, you're an artist. And everybody knows that, like, she knows that, but, like, the journey to get there where you can internalize and say, I'm an artist, is I think it's very challenging to get there. Like, I don't know that any of it, like, I think there are probably a lot of artists out there who don't actually think much of themselves as an artist. And so, I mean, even I asked that question to Alyssa, like, how does that feel? Like, it's official. Like, I don't know if we can go get you a diploma or
what would it take?
Like how many paintings you have to sell, how many, shows you have to exhibit it in. But I would say that same thing of you, Mom, like you were an artist. It's official.
Yes, and with Alyssa, it broke my heart that she had a teacher so, I think it's cursing someone with words that, instead of blessing, that teacher shut down her gift, and I think it happens more often than we think, sometimes innocently, what we say to one another, so that she was able to come out from under that, I think through another mentor that encouraged her, because what we would have missed out on if she didn't activate that gift. She's beautifully contributing to not only her own journey, but to the community.
Yeah, I mean, just Billings without the 6th Street underpass it's not the same Billings. I mean,
I don't even think of it the same. I think of Billings, I think of that underpass. Mm-hmm. It's like a gateway to something that's happening here.
I mean, even my home, Mom,
yes.
and this is, so true of you as well, is an art gallery that is, has one painting by Alyssa, another by Sunshine, and then the rest are you. And so my home would not be the same without, that passion and that love, I think, that you bring to art. But it shines off my walls, it lives in my home.
Well, I can't think of anything more satisfying than having someone bring it into their home and have it live on their walls. And to think, because I'm going for not just communication, but communion, like a deep connection.
Communion, yeah.
I think I want my life to be a communion with myself, with others, with God, where we're just soul to soul, generative conversation, generative, creative, uplifting beings. So for me to be in someone's home,
living and dynamic relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a static painting. Like
It is. But then it's not. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to explain it. I look at it and that all the memories and experience that came into that are awakened in me. And I'm hoping that awakens something in someone else, a memory, a series of things that inspire joy.
So, and just even to go back to that idea of identity, because you shared a story about art in the prairie that was sort of a microcosm, as far as I could tell, of everything that we're talking about, where and it's interesting too, because I don't know, just knowing you as well as I know you, like, this stuff is not all completely resolved, right? No. Like those demons come back to haunt all of us, at times. And so I was wondering if maybe you could just describe that experience of art on the prairie, and then give a little context too, just so, because you're an artist out in Iowa, and that is oftentimes the scenery that you paint is prairies and the Midwestern wildlife, and so art on the prairie. So just kind of give some context and talk about that internal state that you battled through.
This is a yearly art fair in Perry, Iowa. It's always uplifting. There's a great community of people. Some women have renovated older buildings so that they're gorgeous. So the setting is lovely. And so we came Friday night. My dear husband helps me. He's my roadie, he says. We set all this up. It's a lot of effort. And I had all my paintings out there. And the next day, we had a lot of people through. And they looked, but they passed right by me to the Potter next door. A few people bought cards. Found myself, as the day went on, dropping in energy, dropping in thoughts, thinking, why do I spend all this time on this, and who cares? What does it matter? Our culture doesn't value original art. I know it's expensive, and you have to have a place for it, but my thoughts were going south. So I went home. I said, Paul, give me a pep talk. And he did. And so I got myself up the next day. I thought, no, I surrender the results. I'm there for connection, and whatever happens is okay. So I tried to go pray a prayer of surrender.
You tried, though. Like, it's a battle, right? It's
Oh,
not
yeah,
like
I
you
had
just
to
woke
get
up
up.
the next day and it was all...
I wanted to go pack up and go home. And that battle just keeps surfacing. Excuse me. I wish it didn't. But there it is. So I show up, and immediately the gal next to me, the potter I like so much, said, "Oh, you won the People's Choice Award." And I thought, oh, that's nice. People in my building voted for me. And I realized later it was for the whole event that
Which
people
is 6
voted.
different buildings all.
At least,
yeah.
yes. So I thought, well, if I got nothing else, that is fabulous to have people like my booth. And then right after that, sold a painting, then sold another one. And I asked both the buyers, what drew you to these particular paintings? And they said, joy. I feel joy when I look at that. And I thought, there it is. And my thoughts later, after we packed up the show and went home, were, this is important for me to do. This is one of my means of communicating to the world and talking about my inner life at an avenue. So I felt validated that I'm not spending all this time on effort and not saving the world, which is a big ask. And I had another woman buy a colorful painting one time, and she said, I find the darker the world gets, the more color I need in my life. And because I love color, it gave me, I felt even more permission to trust that color instinct and put it in there, because that does speak to people on a nonverbal level. It's so that was my up and down of the weekend. That's just all in one weekend.
It's almost like, you went through that entire trajectory, that entire like identity formation. And
it's a wild ride.
Yeah, of course, right? And I mean, I think that's probably what makes the human journey so beautiful, right? Is that it's all a work in progress always,
Yes.
and just about the moment in time we think that we've got it all figured out, right? Then that gosh, I mean, and I just think of like that's that old voice coming back.
It was.
Haunting you.
It was in big order. And another thing that upended this weekend was I was worried about the booth I was in, because I was right next to music, loud. Well, last year it was loud music all day, and it's hard to talk with people. It's hard for me to talk over that. And so I had a friend challenge me, ask them if you can switch. I said, oh, I can't bother anybody with that. And I just threw it out there, and they just switched me with the gal next to me who didn't mind. And I also asked before we left, I thought, okay, that worked. I asked if there were any volunteers who could help us carry stuff out, because it's hard on Dad, hard on his back to carry all that. We had 2 young volunteers, teenagers, who helped us lickety-split. I've never had an exit so fast. And I tried to tip them. They said, oh, no, this is what we're here for. And the whole thing was such a blessing, because I was willing to overcome that training that we have to be self-sufficient. You can't ask or owe anybody anything, from separation to community. So that was another step towards a different identity.
I mean, there's so many, just that experience, that 2 days, like like learning to be assertive, right? Trusting yourself, right?
Yes.
Rejecting that old voice as it
Yes.
comes back to haunt you. And then also, like, what a validating outcome. Like, I mean, especially even like you're at your booth and you feel like people are just passing by.
Yes.
They're not absorbing.
I've been visible.
Yeah. And then in the back end of that, to find out they were all actually voting for you. I mean, those were the people, right?
Yeah.
The very same people you thought
That
were
were
dismissing your
passing me
work
by.
and passing you by were actually then going and voting for you, because it spoke something. And then the other thing that I was thinking about too is, because Alyssa talked a lot about that, where she's done, it's almost like research based, like somewhat scientific, that there are colors we experience. that bring us joy. And she really deliberately, almost in reaction, it's not like Alyssa is not aware of the darkness, right? I mean, she goes into the 6th Street underpass and fights that darkness, right? Like there's a
with a brush,
there,
not a gun, but with a brush.
Exactly, yes. But there's something of defiance in that, right? Like that as the world gets darker, and it's not that there isn't space for identifying, reflecting, understanding, investigating, the darkness itself, but also sometimes we just need a break.
Yes.
And I think Alyssa and I think also you are pretty committed to providing us just it's not escape though. That's not the right way of
It's
thinking
a city
about
of refuge. I want our home to be that. I want my conversations to be like that with people, that this is a safe place, that here you're loved, here you're valued. Here, I see you, how you're God made. Well, at least I want to grow into that. I don't do it 100%, but that's what I want.
Refuge, that's such a better word than,
I know.
Yeah.
Not escape. It's a escape to a place where you're safe.
Yeah. Well, I love that. So I want to take this kind of back to the beginning, if that's all right.
Yeah.
And the question that I was thinking about is when did you discover that you were an artist? Not in a fully formed, but like in early memories.
Probably the most significant memory, but then again, it was with my dad, who I wanted to be just like. I did everything he did. Not very well. He was so good at everything, but I tried.
Well, and let's give a kind of a character of Big Ed too,
because he's Big Ed.
Yeah.
Alpha male, big personality, charisma, strong leader,
hospitalist,
physician.
Started a residency program. Was just so much larger than life. I mean, he just was. He just had unbelievable presence.
Yes, and good at everything he did, and didn't quite understand the world that couldn't pull that off. So that was my dad. He took us, in my memory, it was just me, but Gail says she was there too, my sister. We went painting along the docks of the James River, on the harbors, on the boats. We went painting together, and that just stood out to me as, boy, this is something of value. This was wonderful. And I took lessons. So I don't know if I identified as an artist, but I drew a lot. And I think I had a creative nature from early on, imagination, those things. Yeah.
So there was a kind of a moment that really stands out with
that stood out
with your dad, and you were on the docks, and
so
ever since maybe your sister was there, or maybe not. Oh.
I erased her. So I always wanted to do beautiful watercolors, which has been a struggle because they're not easy to do. And it's just lately I thought I am able to go out and fully enjoy this medium for what it is and have a sense of knowing how to go forward. That's years of bad watercolors. Or I thought bad watercolors. Learning curve.
Which, I mean, that's part of the journey too, right? Is like being actually bad.
I had to realize it's okay to be bad. That's how you get good. And I had some early failures, and I thought, I'm not going to try. This hurts too much. I almost had to reverse that internal vow that said, hurts too much to try. I thought, oh, no, that's the only way you grow. Do it badly at first.
So had that kind of experience that was, deeply ingrained, embedded into your memory, and, where it kind of clicked that this is maybe something that is part of you.
Yes.
And then you were an imaginative little girl but drew a lot, and then took some art lessons. And then what's next?
After that, I got really fouled up in a move we made out of I call it, Leave It to Beaver neighborhood. Everything was just, we loved that place, but we moved, and to feeling, I don't know who I am here. I don't connect with these people. I don't have friends. It was I left the church that I loved, and the new church I didn't like so much. So I kind of dropped out of all of those things that I had as an identity. So then it took a long journey back I went into nursing because we are from a medical family, and they didn't think art would be able to provide a living. Might have been afraid I'd come back home. So anyway, that was difficult. So kept coming back to it wherever we were. I took art lessons. And then it wasn't until I really picked it up again as kids were growing and I could return to spending time with it. I'm not good at multiple focuses, so when I was raising kids, it felt like that was my focus, but came back to it. And that's when I realized, wow, this really lights me up.
Mm-hmm. So when was that move that you were describing?
I was 9 or 10. Yes. It was a sequence of events that my father was in practice, was his father. They had a private practice. My father got deathly sick with a gallbladder that got infected. His father, while my father was in the hospital, died of a heart attack, and they were very close because he was so stressed. He knew how sick my dad was. So here's my father. Suddenly he's got 5 kids, no partner, and I think he shut down emotionally because I felt he went away. He was very involved in our lives, then he wasn't. So we moved, and he literally said to my mom, no more honeydews. He didn't come to events. He didn't feel engaged with us, and I fell off the cliff when I thought, this is something wrong with me. He doesn't want to be involved with me, in addition to the fairly toxic high school culture. So I guess it would be an identity crisis. I didn't know it. Lots of depression and anxiety went along with that. That at that time, you didn't speak about those things. I just thought there's something intrinsically wrong with me. So that's been a journey back to.
When you think about, if art is something that flows out of a place of, flows out of a full cup or flows out of a place of identity and purpose, and then to have that, you relocated, so you lost friends, you lost a sense of security and stability. Your dad probably went through a crisis of his own, and so there was a breakage in that sort of sacred relationship that you anchored yourself in.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden there wasn't that place that art flows out of was not there any longer.
I felt like I was drowning for about 10 years and trying to stay afloat.
So did you create during that time frame?
Not a lot, some. There were some art classes, but really sought peer approval to a very detrimental level. So yes.
Which I've kind of heard that theme, that idea of approval.
Yes.
Your dad.
Yep.
Dad's approval, peer approval, and that is shown up in that
Yes.
that development, that evolution of your identity.
It's been a hard journey to realize I have to approve myself. I'm not going to get it from external source. Nobody can deliver that. That does not come from externally. It will never be enough.
And there's something about that killed the joy that art flows from.
I did not have joy during that season.
Okay,
now that I have it, I'm not giving it up. I'm drinking out of that cup.
Absolutely. Okay, so that takes you kind of through high school where it's almost a drought or something like that, as you were trying to fill that emptiness inside of you, and for you personally, because there are other forms of art and artistry and artists that really, I think depression can be fairly generative for some artists, but I don't know that is the case for you. I think maybe it's not.
No.
And so for you, that was a drought. If there's not abundance in your life, then that overflow is not there to create from. Right. And so college, and then you met Dad. Maybe talk a little bit about our family and meeting Dad. And
well, I thought it was a divine appointment. I was in college. No, I was out of college. I was working as a nurse. I was on a cancer ward with pediatrics kids. I love the kids, but oh my goodness, it was a university hospital, so you got all the worst cases. And I remember being on the shift where a child died on my shift from leukemia, and I just went in the bathroom and sobbed, and I had to carry him down to the morgue. It was traumatizing. I had no grid to, what do I do with all of this? I was having an identity crisis. I felt on my own without resources. And I cried out to God one night. I said, if you're there, do something. If you don't, I will. That was literally the desperation I felt. And this is my story. I'm sticking with it. I heard the word California. So I thought, I'll go. So I packed up everything in Virginia and went off, and I had never taken a long road trip. Yeah, I had to give notice and do all that. My parents probably wondered what next crazy thing I was doing. So when I got out there, I had a job. It was easy. I got a job at Stanford. That was easy. But it was the church home I came to, and they had an altar call, and I went forward, and I felt like I came home. I thought, this is what I journeyed out here for. Not too long after, I was part of a Bible study. I was supposed to facilitate. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even understand the passage. I was pretty new at all this. And Paul showed up, my husband now, of 48 years, and sat in the back and does what he does. He facilitated and made me look good. I said he's been doing that ever since. Oh. And we went out for coffee. We were married 6 months later, which is crazy, but we cut through all the dating stuff and just we knew each other. We talked a lot and openly. And I felt that it was the next step for me to, I knew when I married him, I was marrying into the Christian faith. He was so strong in it. And I knew I needed help with anchoring. I'd been so rudderless. So it was a choice. And I keep choosing. I keep choosing that. And
where was your faith at before? I mean, during that kind of that fracture with your dad and the move.
I didn't have one. I didn't go to church. I didn't turn to God. I was trying to make my own world. That didn't work very well. No, I didn't. I don't think it was. I abandoned it. So it felt like coming home to him.
But then there was this moment, and I mean, I can almost visualize that moment of carrying this, a dead child in your arms, and then calling out to God, maybe a God that you didn't believe in at that moment in time, and then hearing what is, maybe an unusual thing for God to say, California. Yeah.
I don't know. It all felt like it needed to happen. I couldn't have met Paul if I didn't go out there. And we are so different in some ways, but so alike in values. And we are both not quitters, and we both keep our promises, and we're both true in that way. So
what kept you tethered enough to call out to God in your moment of desperation, then follow through on that somewhat obscure instruction?
You had desperation, then, just utter, complete desperation. Thought, well, I don't want to commit suicide. That's not our family. That doesn't seem right. That's not me, but that's all I could think about. I want out of this. This is exhausting and depressing, and I can't do this anymore. So yeah, I kind of died and was born to a new life. And it's been growing ever since. He's never left me. I knew that God never left me through all that time. I left him. So as soon as I come back, I think he welcomed me.
He was waiting.
He was waiting. He's so patient. That's my belief about it.
So you moved out to California. You got a job at Stanford.
Yeah.
You met Dad. So what motivated you to go to church then in that, like, you go out to California? I mean, you probably could have gone to Haight-Ashbury and taken some LSD instead, I mean, there were options in California at that time.
That church had a big draw back then, Peninsula Bible Church. I think someone mentioned it, and I tried it, and I thought, I like what they're preaching. I like So I started going, and then there was an altar call. I couldn't believe I went forward. It just drawn up to it. So
was that your moment of conversion then, do you think? With that altar
return.
call? Moment of return?
I don't ever think, I think it was there all along for me. I don't think he ever left. I think it was me leaving, taking, like the prodigal. I think it was coming home.
Yeah, and the Father was waiting with open arms when you did.
I just don't think he ever left.
Yeah, do you remember what it was that helped you? I don't know, like what, you raised your hand, you walked to the altar, what was it?
Just walking up and saying yes. And then you have to continue to say yes. And getting baptized in Half Moon Bay in the ocean, going to Bible study, just continue to show up with all my baggage and vulnerability and yeah, just saying yes.
And so where was art for you during this
that
transition?
I kept painting, but I wasn't, I was working. I kept always was painting alongside, but an avocation, and I knew I liked it. I would like to have switched over, but I was in too deep. You can make a living with nursing. Art, I've discovered it's a tougher haul.
That it is.
So we're in a position now where I'm not dependent on trying to make a living with it. It would be hard going.
It changes the dynamic a lot. Yeah.
Yes. Paul always says, you want to make it work? There's a whole dynamic of marketing and that I don't love. But
all right, so take me from when you met Dad to there's a painting. It's one of my all-time favorite paintings that you've done, which is me by the water spigot. I think in the Grand Tetons.
That's right.
Which, I mean, maybe I was 4 or something like that, little blonde. And I was, stomping in the puddles, I think, and we were probably on one of our grand road trips around the country. I don't know what we were doing, but
yeah, we were.
Catch me, yeah. Talk about that, the in between, because it looked to me like that's one of those paintings where you were finding your voice.
I kept painting. I had a studio in our house in Houghton where you were born. And of course, I stayed at home with you all and tried to do creative things on the side. I wasn't real good at juggling, mothering, and doing I would get so absorbed in the creative thing, I'd kind of get neglectful of you guys. So I realized, I think I better just focus. So I did that. I made you three my creative focus for the younger years especially, and then I could come back to the other thing later on. I had great satisfaction in being a mom. I loved it. Yeah,
so I mean, because if memory serves, you didn't really paint much between.
Not especially when you were young, but we did creative things as a family.
When it was. And I think that's what it became for you, is that we became in some ways your canvas.
Exactly.
And that's where you poured your creative energy into homeschooling us. And
yes. Yeah, right or wrong, we homeschooled. That was a trend at that time. We were moving around a lot, and it felt like a more stabilizing thing to do with you kids, but I'm not sure I knew what I was doing. I don't think I heard anything. You told me one time you wrecked me socially, but educationally it was fine. Although I think you're doing quite well.
Thank you. All of my antisocial behaviors I just blame on home.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was homeschooled. Sorry. At least for me personally, I can say that those are very fond years for me, fond memories of being in Eugene and being able to run around and play basketball and with my friends, and I don't know, those are very fond. I have so many very dear memories from that time.
Yeah, we weren't socially isolated. We had a lot of involvement with the community and friends, and the academics you can do fairly quickly, so that left a lot of time to explore and go on field trips. A lot of field trips.
Yeah.
I have fond memories of it.
Any memories come to mind?
Oh, goodness. Well, I did take you to a lot of museums, and Sarah, our oldest daughter, said one time, "Wait a minute, is this an educational experience?" She didn't want to go. She sniffed out that. So funny, though, now she takes her kids to museums.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll sniff it out eventually, too.
We had the Quins, and we would go, we'd go travel in parks and things, and so we did pretty well. And was certainly, Dad was wonderful about driving places, so we would go camping and things like that.
Yeah.
And he took you early on fishing. He wanted to introduce you to that, which was his love, and I think that's become one of your
It's one of the
sacred
things that has
places.
really tethered us together
Yes.
over the years.
I remember telling him at 12, when you were 12, I said, "Okay, I've nurtured him. Now you help him become a man, because I don't know how." And he kind of took over.
Well, so let's talk about that too, because that was a somewhat wayward experience. Okay, so I transitioned into public schools at sixth grade, and then we moved to Iowa. So I moved schools again, and I think that probably is where, I think of myself now as fairly prodigal,
Yes.
to say the least. But obviously I had some significant issues growing up, and there are issues that impacted the family, and struggled with depression and addiction and all of those things. I know Sarah and Anna to some degree also experienced some hardship. And I also just think growing up is really hard.
Yes.
Like even as you tell your story and just hitting that rock bottom and not knowing who you were or where you were going, and so maybe just still with that same question of where was art at for you?
Okay.
As we navigated some of those family challenges.
Well, I do remember thinking I had a pretty big low at age 50. I remember I was vacuuming, and I just started crying, and it was my birthday, and I thought, this has not turned out like I thought. I put all my eggs in one basket, Lord. I feel like I did my part.
Which was us.
Which was you guys, and I thought, and it feels just shattered. Kids were struggling. I thought if I gave you every spiritual, if I could stuff you full with spiritual things, you wouldn't have the fall off the cliff like I did. Well, I don't think it works that way. You have your own journeys. And he said, I thought the Lord told me, I saw a picture of a mosaic. He just said, I'm going to make something with these pieces that's more beautiful than anything you could have imagined, which I've gotten to see to fruition. So we hung in there. It was a tough time. So art, I went back to work and in the school system as an aide, then became a nurse in the schools, and I picked up art again. I thought, I've got to have something else in my life that brings some satisfaction, because this one hasn't worked out very well. So I think another case of desperation and turning to a different avenue, and it really did help. All of that helped build back up some confidence.
So you got this almost prophetic word.
Yeah.
But from there forward would have been a journey, and especially with me, an unlikely journey if we're being honest. But that has come to fruition.
It has, and that's where you have to walk it out over the long haul. I didn't see it immediately, and I would have words once in a while like, you were going to be okay, because, and you just have to hang on to, I'm not seeing it, but I can't see the end game of this, but we've seen it, we saw it through to the change, to the shift. And I attribute much of that to Paul and his prayers. He just went to war for you and did battle. I think it was a spiritual battle. And he doesn't get the final word. Look at where you are now and what all those things that you're using to heal other people, to give grace to other people. So nothing's wasted.
Nothing's wasted. Yeah.
In my opinion.
It's interesting, though, just to kind of hear you describe that, because I can only imagine, I mean, especially if you put all your eggs in one basket and maybe that basket is hurting, and then obviously we went to college and we flew the nest and all of a sudden it was, you're just left alone without much control in the outcome. And so one of the things during that moment of, just where do you go from there? But you reached back to art.
Yeah, there was that article I'd saved for about 10 years about a Saturday sketch group. And I finally just thought, I'm going to show up. And I even brought a young gal with me. I was so nervous to show up, thinking they're not going to want me. I've been with that group since 2000. And we paint every Saturday. They become friends of a community. And one of them said, you ought to take lessons from Mary Muller, a very wonderful teacher in our community. So I stayed with her, learned portraiture. She became not just an art teacher, but a spiritual mentor. And it was a community she built. We would come to her house. That was huge. So, and I thought it was hard for me, the school nursing. I felt so inadequate, but I grew into it. I kept saying yes and showing up and got better at it. And what I wanted was our place to be a sanctuary and to be a healing place. So we had kids coming all the time, but I knew often it wasn't because they were sick. They just needed some love. I remember so many things like that. And I think I have been told prophetically that I have a heart of a spiritual nurse. Not so much the physical hands-on nursing, but I do like to tend souls and help them get well and get free from bitterness and that old identity that so enslaves us and makes us sick, heart sick. So
you turned your nursing office into a sanctuary and just...
I did.
Yeah.
And I think it was. Yes. And learn to listen to the kids. What are they here for? Because some of them just did not have good home lives. So they'd come in. I had one girl that she came in every morning and just came in and hugged me and left. And one day she came in and said, my stomach hurts. And I was busy doing something. I thought, okay, no, listen. I stopped what I was doing. I turned to her. I said, tell me about that. And then it turned out they had had a fire in their apartment that night. So they had all had to leave. So she was just frightened. And I gave her some attention and some love and said that must have been hard. And I didn't see her the rest of the day, but I bet you if I hadn't paid attention, she would have been back in wanting to go home. So listening, the compassionate listening thing that Paul does so well and is teaching me to do. We need to hear the story within the story.
And even for little children, right, who just have a tummy ache because, because in the back of their story, there's a fire, something's burning down.
Yes, especially hear what they're telling you.
And so all that time you were then kind of rediscovering your identity as an artist. And
yes.
And when did it, because up till that point in time, like that, what I kind of said earlier, where it's official, you're an artist. Yeah, maybe that would have applied before then. I mean, I think anybody is an artist. If you're creating as a form of self-expression, you qualify, right? Like that's the only criteria. But there is becoming a professional artist, which I think you also have those qualifications at this point. When did it become that? Where it's, all of a sudden now you're in shows and you're winning the state fair. You've gotten a lot of awards over the years now that I can think about it. And so when would you say that it became maybe a professional enterprise as well as a form of personal expression?
Well, I think I thought I'm going to make this a career. And that was slow going. It's hard. It's hard marketing, getting it out there, making sales. And it's funny how that same sense of scarcity or there's not enough, it you get an award. If you don't get it or you don't get in, there was deflation. If you get an award, there's elation, then back down to I got to earn that again. I'm trying to get off that treadmill. That I am so blessed, first of all, that I don't have to have it for the finances. And I have the technical skills now and the internal freedom and the time to go whatever direction I want. So if I want to paint realistically, I can. If I want to move to abstraction, I have freedom. So I'm beginning to step into that freedom, because I think when you paint from that place of what brings you alive and listen to your internal nudges, there's something embedded in that canvas that is more alive and draws others in. That's where I'm headed. So if it's cells, I do need an outlet. I need the people to want it, or it's discouraging. It's like if I'm trying to communicate and no one wants to hear it, that's kind of sad. But that's why I try to enter shows, put it out there, say yes. It may get rejected. That's okay. It's not for this time, not for that person. Try not to make a story around it that nobody wants it. And you see this weekend, I went right to that within one day. Slipped on that banana peel. But I got back up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it too, right? We learn about ourselves and we can recognize our our negative patterns a little bit more quickly, and I always think about that poem autobiography in five chapters. Have you read that one before? I fall into a hole.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. There it is.
Right. I mean, the hole is still there, and all of us still fall back into it. But we do get better at getting out of it more quickly.
Yes.
And maybe we walk down a different street, but that hole is probably still there in some respect, and it'll swallow us up pretty quick. You
can hear it, they hear the sucking sound of the drain. I thought, oh, wait a minute, that's I hear it. I am going the wrong direction mentally. I can pretty much trace it to what I'm thinking about and how I'm thinking about it. So I'm always rewriting. And it's a daily practice. In fact, I do something called Morning Pages from Julia Cameron's book. It's really life-changing. I just get up and write 3 pages or so of whatever is on my mind. I sort, I dump, I have big thoughts. I listen, respond, write what I think the Lord is telling me, and I reset for the day each morning.
And have watched you too, because I think there's something about, as you've developed a more secure identity, you're more willing to take chances.
Exactly.
And I think that, and part of that too is developing confidence, right? So you have all of these skill sets, whether it's watercolor, acrylics, or oils. But also, I've watched you incorporate poetry into your paintings. I've watched you use multimedia. I've watched you just experiment in these ways that a perfectionist might not have been able to, or somebody who is hypercritical, or somebody who's elevated the outcome to a god.
Yes.
To an idol. And so I think that's really interesting. As you've developed an internal sense of stability, that has become a place where you can then go take risk.
Exactly. And I'm saying yes a lot more. I had a friend tell me, you're a very courageous person. I never think of myself that way. I think I'm a scaredy cat. But to step out and risk with hypersensitivity and the vulnerabilities I feel, I think that does take courage. Going to California, I suppose that was courageous. You could say it was stupid, but I think for me it was courageous. It's like my soul knew I needed a desperate move, and so I did it.
A couple of kind of maybe even final questions, although we can until we fully told the story, I think we stay as long as we need to. But one of them, the first is thinking about family and this idea that maybe your kids were the masterpiece that you were most committed to painting, in that mosaic that maybe was fairly shattered at one point in time, and maybe none of us could really see how it could possibly come back together. What is that like now?
Delightful. I am so proud of my kids. I look at them and I think, I could cry. You three have gone so far beyond what I could have hoped for, and who you are, and what the resilience, the perseverance, the character, how you are in your community. It's so beyond anything I did or hoped for. It's wondrously, amazingly satisfying. I thought we may not have done it perfectly, and I know we made mistakes and we're kind of zealous and maybe rigid. I think we moved too many times. We had all these things but we loved you guys so much, and I think you're such a blessing wherever you are. I'm amazed.
Because that really is. I'm a parent now and have my own little beautiful things, and you think about what that is, right? So it's like you pour into their canvas as much as you can, and then eventually they fly away and become their own painting, right? And become a product of what you gave them, but also something that is completely their own. And I think that we try to do the best we can. And I think of your attempt, your commitment to saving us from falling off the same cliff. I think of like Holden Caulfield, right? Like The Catcher in the Rye. Like, there was a cliff for you that you fell off at one point, and so you resolved yourself. Like, if I just give them these spiritual truths that saved me on the other side, then maybe they won't have to fall off the way that I did. And that was not the case, right? And probably never really is.
Yeah, it was probably good summation. That is a good summation. I thought I could. You can't save them from their own journey.
Well, and of course, because I fell off my own cliffs and have because my kids are just everything to me. There's just nothing I care more about than those two beautiful little things. And of course, I'm like calculating in the background to spare them from the despair that I understand, right? And probably they'll fall off their own cliff, and it's one I couldn't predict, that I couldn't save them from. Hopefully, it's a smaller one than maybe even the one that I fell off of. Mm-hmm. But it's so interesting because there are masterpieces, but they fly away from us.
Yeah, that's so true. I think of the journey, you faced with Gentry. I didn't want that for you. I couldn't spare you from it. We stood by. Kind of hard to watch your children suffer. I think of Sarah's journey and losing Everly, one of the twins. You stand by and you weep, but you have to entrust them that the same resources that came to me will come to you, and ultimately you will get through this to the other side, and which you have beautifully. You didn't quit. Neither, you guys aren't quitters. Kept showing up.
Yeah, and I think of what maybe as far as the legacy or what it was that you were able to give us, right? Like, because something gets through always. We always inherit something from our parents, and I think that a relentless love is one of the things that we took from you, and I think that is I think about my own faith journey, and how that is operated in the midst of this, and Gentry's cancer and Down syndrome, and my brain injury and all of those things. And one is that those moments in time just stripped me completely bare. Yeah. Like I had to surrender because my own strength was just no longer sufficient to get me even through the next day. And so there was this moment of total surrender. But I turned to Jesus in that moment of despair and hopelessness in ways that I hadn't ever been able to before, even if I would have nominally called myself a Christian. Mm-hmm. But in that moment, and I think it's what I discovered about Jesus, and it's not even necessarily a religious claim. I don't mean it that way, but it's a blueprint to redeem suffering.
Yeah.
And that's what he lived out, right? And there's a way you can orient yourself towards that where even the absolute tragedy that is life, that is unfolding around you, that is totally uncertain, because with as far as my life, as bad as my life got as a teenager, and like there was no guarantee that I was going to come back from that, that I was going to survive that, and again there was no guarantee that I was going to get my mind back, as I kind of lost my vision, and there was no guarantee that I was going to bring my son home. In fact, it was extraordinarily unlikely that we were ever going to bring Gentry back. And I mean, I even think of that right now, right? So the last time that we were all together, so you and Dad are here in Billings, I think all of us got a stomach bug, so we were all throwing up. I had that huge event, and then Gentry relapsed.
Yes.
And Dad drove him to the hospital and said goodbye to Kylie. And I mean, I think he was very aware, and you were very aware that probably you were never going to see your grandson again. Mm-hmm. And it was, for me, just in that darkness, in that long tunnel, that there was no guarantee there was light on the other side. That's what I discovered, that I could orient myself towards life in a way where something meaningful could come out of this no matter what. And, even for Gentry, like even if he died, there's a sense in which I could bring him back, and I could make the world a better place for Gentry's. Yeah. For the other little children like Everly and like Emma, and his spirit could live through me in a redemptive way. And to me, that's what Jesus was teaching us, is that we can orient ourselves towards suffering in a way that allows us to, I don't know, have meaning, have beauty, have, I don't know how it exactly operates, but there's something in there.
Yeah, I think this is a final thought from me as I've walked this thing out over the long haul, is it's not a set of rules or things, it's a relationship that I am companioned by Jesus. All we have to do is invite him in. And he never leaves us. He never forsakes us. I'm never alone. I'm never abandoned, no matter how dark it gets. He'll go every place you go and be with you 24/7. That is my experience that I am entering into. It's abundant, it's rich, it's joyful, it's redeeming, no matter how bad it gets. And I am getting anchored in that. As we have a track record, and I look back, and one of my big fears is being abandoned, because I felt abandoned by my dad emotionally. And he says to me, I will never leave you. There's no place you go that I won't be with you. So his forgiveness is utter, complete. It's now. It's for everything I do, everything I'm going to do. So I would like to express that and have people hear that this is what he's inviting you into. Not a set of rules that you have to live up to. It's impossible. We're never going to make that. And that's just the world. That's that first mountain. But he's inviting us.
Well, that's that perfect art piece that you're going to paint, and is one going it's going to convince the entire world that you actually are, and
Yes, it's that same. I'm not on that journey anymore. I'm on a different spiraling inward journey that at the same time moves out. And I know it. I know it's in infancy, but this will go on for eternity. But this is the path I'm on. And I would hope others join.
Yeah, so maybe, one more question. Where was art for you while Gentry was going through what he was going through, and while maybe even Sarah was going through with her kids, and Anna and all of us, kids have?
It's solace. It's a place that suspends time and thoughts and worries. I come out on the other side after I've painted, most of the time, not always, just feeling more myself, more centered. So it's a therapeutic outlet. It's a grace space, as long as I keep it that way. And I love to paint on location, because you've got the double whammy of in nature, surrounded by God's creation, just being a channel for that and trying to put that down on paint. It's like probably for writers when you get something down on paper like you do.
Oh, yeah, when it clicks, it just
When it
feels
clicks,
so,
that
there's
zone.
something so
They say you paint a lot of the bad ones so you have a few that soar. But you know it when it happens. You thought, okay, I'm in that space.
In that state of flow, too.
Yeah,
it's
I love that.
So alive in you, I know.
It's addictive.
So
Good kind of addiction.
It is, yeah. So just kind of in summary, when you think of art and family and faith, and maybe even legacy, what it is that you want to leave behind, what it is that, what your story translates to as an artist and as a mother and as a Christian. And take as long as you want. Go anywhere you want with that question.
Boy, that's a big question, and I often worry that I don't have a legacy of big accomplishments but see, that's that same voice. I want to have left a legacy of love, that people know they're loved by me, that I express that into the world to the best of my ability. And I don't necessarily have to be immortalized. I just want to have left the world having that agency to have loved, learned to love. I think this journeying home to me has been my clarion call, and call others home. Because I think we have a lovely, safe home, and people like to come over. And I think I'm home in my own heart, and I can help others find home in their own hearts. If I could do that, that's pretty great. Because when I think of heaven, it's going to be the farm in Mechanicsville, and people all the relatives coming and showing up, and we're having a big barbecue, and
maybe the dock on the James River.
Yeah, we're all home.
Your little hand and your dad's.
Yeah, we're just home together, and I'll see my parents again. I miss them deeply, and Everly. I think there are people waiting for me. And if I go ahead, I'll be waiting for you guys. I hope I get to be on the greeting committee. Send me. So I suppose that's, I'm glad to articulate that. I've been struggling with that. What is my legacy?
Well, when talking about legacy is an act of love. I mean, to me, that would summarize what you've said about art, that art is an expression of love for you.
It is. Yeah.
But one of many, maybe, and one that's been really central in your development, but one of many. I mean, nursing and giving that little girl a hug when, her house was on fire.
And I think listening is an act of love. And I think I do that. It's a skill I'm working on and honing. Help me to stop and listen. Because I think a lot of people don't feel heard. So I love, especially with these younger women with young families who don't even have time to take a breath. I want them to feel seen and loved and know what they're doing really matters. Because despite all our flawed parenting, we were there. We made it a priority, and I have no regrets about that. I think we were on the right track with that one.
That if there's maybe one thing that you need to get right.
If I got one thing right?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean that is in because I just think that parents, we all set off on a voyage convinced that we're going to fix all of the things that went wrong in our own childhood, and all of us fail miserably.
Well, I know I did.
And I mean, maybe not, but the one, it seems to be that if you can get one thing right, I think it's that if you love unconditionally, that seems to be, maybe that's enough. I don't know.
Well, we had a pastor come to our house, and he looked at the pictures of you kids, and he said to us, this was in teenage years for you, he said, your children do not know you love them unconditionally, but they're going to. I was taken aback. I thought, of course they know that. But you didn't, and then you did. And how can you know that unless you're not very lovable and you get loved through that? So I thought that was a prophetic word came to us.
Oh, that's such an interesting idea, that the only way to know that you're unconditionally loved is by actually being unlovable. All of us are at times. Yeah, we all have our moments.
So anyway.
Any other final thoughts?
No, but you're not so much, except that this was so fun and centering, and this was a generative conversation that I will treasure. Yeah. And you ask great questions.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
You gave great answers. Love you, Mom.
Love you too.
Thank you for listening to the Pay Love Forward podcast. If this conversation moved you, inspired you, or made you think, don't let it stop there. Pay Love Forward is more than a podcast. It's a movement, a community, a way of being. At its heart is a simple commitment to invest in others in ways that multiply. In partnership with Resilient Stories, we're committed to hearing the story within the story, the deeper narrative of courage, compassion, and renewal that reminds us who we are and what we're capable of together. If you'd like to walk with us, find a mentor, find a mentee, and join us at one of our community gatherings. You can connect through Facebook or visit us at www.payloveforward.net to learn more. Let's keep building something beautiful together.